All right. Fixed it. Sorry. Apparently, I had to have new permissions on StreamYard for Google because Lord knows. All right, guys. So like I was saying, the pistol brace final rule was released, dropped by the ATF. I put dropped in earlier and people's heads blew up. I think you guys figured out what I meant. But they have released the pistol brace rule. It goes into effect in 120 days from today's date. And there are a couple changes as I move my jacket that we weren't anticipating, and some stuff we were anticipating, but I didn't have enough information to go live with it because I couldn't verify. So the form 4999 gone, dead. However, what they also did today, the ATF, is they have changed the definition. They've amended the definition of rifle, which they don't have the legal ability to do. And that form 4999, the factoring criteria, has been worked into the definition. They think they can do it that way. All previous letters that manufacturers had received saying that firearm with that item on it were okay have all been rescinded. And I figure we'll go over this together because everybody who's watching is going to want to know what's going on. Everybody who has one of these items needs to know what's going on. There are some options, some easy ones, some ones that shouldn't be necessary. But in many ways, this is a worst case scenario for what we were expecting versus what we have today. All right, so I am going to minimize me. And we'll go over this together. This is the factoring criteria with firearms, for firearms with attached stabilizing braces, released today by the ATF. Okay. This is just the opening. Just says it's the final rule, and the Department of Justice is amending the regulations of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to clarify when a rifle is designated, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, specifically under the Gun Control Act 1968. And the National Firearms Act of 1934. The definition of rifle shall include a weapon that is equipped with an accessory, component, or other rearward attachment, example, a stabilizing brace, that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided other factors, as described in this preamble and in the amended regulations, indicate that the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. The effective date of this rule is the date of publications today of the in the final register. The Federal Register, and the compliance date. Any weapon with stabilizing braces or similar attachments that constitute rifles under the NFA must be registered no later than 120 days from today. So that's that. There's some stuff that you guys and gals hopefully will follow along with. Like I said, this is going to be one of those long live streams, unfortunately, because it's a long rule. There's a lot to it, and I want people to be informed. So I figured the best way to do it, let's do it together as a team. Like the video, share the video, please get it out there because you know they're going to try to stop this. Let's get into this. So this is the table of contents. For further information, you can contact Denise Brown and yabba yabba yabba. But these are the table of contents, and let's go over the summary of the regulatory action. This executive summary provides an overview of the relevant statutory definitions, a brief overview regarding the regulatory background prompting the issuance of a rule, a description of the earlier published notice of proposed rulemaking, a description of this final rule after consideration of the comments received on the proposed rulemaking, and an overview of options for persons affected by this rule. Nothing, this is the funny part, nothing in this rule bans stabilizing braces or the use of stabilizing braces on pistols. However, firearms with an attached brace device may be subject to statutory and regulatory requirements depending on the firearm's objective design features and other factors as discussed in this rule. Furthermore, this rule does not impose any new legal obligations on owners of stabilizing braces at all, as any obligations for these owners result only from the National Firearms Act and the Gun Control Act. So they're saying we're not doing anything that hasn't been law all along, and you people have just been skirting the system. Instead, this rule merely conveys more clearly to the public the objective design features and other factors that indicate a weapon is in fact a firearm or short-barreled rifle under the relevant statutes. The Gun Control Act definition of firearm is broad and includes any weapon, including a starter gun, which will or is designed to, or that may be readily converted to, expel a projectile by the action of an explosive. And that's 18 U.S.C. 921A3A. This definition does not include an antique firearm. The Gun Control Act additionally provides definitions for the terms rifle and short-barreled rifle. A rifle is designed as a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and designed or redesigned and made or remade to use the energy of an explosive to fire only a single projectile through a rifled bore for each single pull of the trigger. I have to double check that. Does it say pull of the trigger in the definition? I'm racking my brain. I think it says function of the trigger. We might have double checked that. They might have changed this on us. A short-barreled rifle is designed as a rifle having one or more barrels less than 16 inches in length, and any weapon made from a rifle, whether by alteration, modification, or otherwise, if such weapon as modified has an overall length of less than 26 inches. The Gun Control Act imposes specific controls on the interstate transport of short-barreled rifles and requires federal firearms licensees to receive approval from the Attorney General prior to the sale of the short-barreled rifle. Okay, so we know this stuff, but some people don't know this, which is why I'm reading the definitions part. The Gun Control Act also defines the term handgun as a firearm which has a short stock and is designed to be held and fired by the use of a single hand, and B, any combination of parts from which a firearm described in subparagraph A can be assembled. A pistol, which is a type of handgun, is defined under 27 CFR 478.11 and 479.11 as a weapon originally designed, made, and intended to fire a projectile, bullet, from one or more barrels when held in one hand, and having a chamber as an integral part or permanently aligned with the bore, and a short stock designed to be gripped by one hand and at an angle to the extending below the line of the bore. Okay, it's a typical pistol. The NFA defines the term firearm differently and more narrowly than does the GCA. Under the NFA, the term firearm includes a rifle having a barrel or barrels of less than 16 inches in length, and a weapon made from a rifle if such weapon as modified has an overall length of less than 26 inches, or a barrel or barrels of less than 16 inches in length, also known as a short-barreled rifle, as the term is defined under the GCA. The NFA defines the term rifle as a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and designed or redesigned to made or remade to use the energy of an explosive in a fixed cartridge to fire only a single projectile through a rifled bore for each single pull of the trigger, and shall include any such weapon which may be readily restored to fire a fixed cartridge. The section of the NFA's definition of a firearm includes a rifle with a barrel or barrels less than 16 inches in length, and a weapon made from a rifle is nearly identical to the Gun Control's definition of short-barreled rifle. Firearms falling under the purview of the NFA must be registered in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record, and to a person entitled to possess the firearm require approval by the Attorney General before their transfer or making, and are subject to transfer and making taxes. Additionally, any person engaged in the business of importing, manufacturing, or dealing NFA firearms must register with the Attorney General and pay a special occupational tax, the SOT. Generally, all rifles, weapons made from a rifle, and rifles having a barrel or barrels less than 16 inches in length, the purpose of the NFA, are also firearms under the Gun Control Act. All right, so getting the definitions out, I think it's key because some people don't read that crap, right? And there's a reason that they put those there, because they're about to go poo all over them right now. First off, before I get too far, thank you to everybody who's in here. There's a ton of you. Please hit the like button and share it so more people get this. And also, just give me a quick audio video check. Let me know if everything sounds good before I get too far down and it looks like or sounds terrible. All right, we'll go on to page 6 here. In 2012, an FFL, this is the first stabilizing brace, okay? An FFL submitted the first stabilizing brace or brace device to the ATF, asking if the addition of their prototype brace device to a heavy pistol, such as an AR-15 type pistol, would change the pistol's classification under federal firearms laws. Thank you for everybody for saying audio video is good. The submitter described that the brace device was designed with the intent to assist people with disabilities so that they could fire these kinds of heavy pistols safely and comfortably, as they could be difficult to control with the one-hand precision stance. In response to this inquiry, ATF examined the submitted stabilizing brace device and found the sample provided the shooter with additional support of a firearm while it is still held and operated with one hand, and that the device was not designed or intended to fire a weapon from the shoulder. Accordingly, ATF concluded that the submitted brace, when attached to a firearm, did not convert that weapon to be fired from the shoulder and would not alter the classification of a pistol or other firearm, and therefore such a firearm would not be subject to NFA controls. Since then, a variety of available stabilizing braces or similar brace devices and pistols equipped with braces has grown significantly. In 2014, ATF began to see braces being used to fire weapons from the shoulder and new brace designs that included characteristics common to shoulder stocks. ATF's previous classifications had analyzed whether brace devices could effectively be used on a forearm for single-handed firing, as the manufacturer claimed. Additionally, for a period of time, many of ATF's classifications did not consider, one, whether the firearm equipped with a specific brace model was designed or redesigned to be fired from the shoulder based on the objective design features of the weapon, or two, how the firearm equipped with the brace was being used in the general community. So they're saying, well, we didn't look at that back then because it was only supposed to be on the forearm, and you all bastardize it. Not the fact that they want $200 and all that stuff, right, for each one of these, which you'll learn more about that here coming shortly. The diversity of brace devices yielded a plethora of firearms with an attached stabilizing brace that possesses objective design features indicative of firearms designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. As explained in this rule, because a majority of these firearms with an attached stabilizing brace are configured as rifles and have a barrel or barrels of less than 16 inches in length, they fall under the purview of the NFA. Therefore, under the statute and regulations, individuals who attach a stabilizing brace to a firearm could find themselves making an NFA firearm without abiding by the registration and taxation requirements of the NFA. Furthermore, ATF has made clear to makers and manufacturers that despite their purported intent with respect to the use or design of an accessory, the requirements of the NFA cannot be circumvented by attempting to configure a firearm with a purported stabilizing brace when the affixed device and the configuration of the firearm includes features inherent in shoulder-fired weapons. For these reasons, it is necessary for the department to amend, listen to this, to amend the regulatory definition of rifle to make clear to the public the objective design, features, and other factors that must be considered when determining whether a firearm equipped with an accessory, component, or an other rearward attachment, example, a stabilizing brace, is a rifle designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. Although ATF will consider a manufacturer's stated intent as reflected in direct and indirect marketing materials or other information demonstrating the likely use of the weapon in the general community in assessing whether the firearm is or is not designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, the objective design features of the weapon may support or undermine that intent, and the stated intent will not necessarily be dispositive. So they're saying, yeah, a gun manufacturer can say this is the way that's supposed to be shot, but depending on how the community uses it and the way the thing's marketed, it doesn't matter. It'll trump that. On June 10th of 2021, the department published the proposed rulemaking in the Federal Register titled Factoring Criteria for Firearms with Attached Stabilizing Braces. The proposed rule proposed amending ATF's definitions of rifle to expressly state that the term may include firearms equipped with a stabilizing brace, even though such firearms were already implicitly included in the definition by virtue of the fact that they were designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. The proposed attachment clarified that A firearm equipped with a stabilizing brace device falls under the definition of rifle if the weapon has objective design features and characteristics that facilitate shoulder fire, as indicated on ATF Worksheet 4999, factoring criteria for rifle barrel weapons with accessories commonly referred to as stabilizing braces, aka Worksheet 4999. Thank you, Anthony, very much. I appreciate you. So this is that worksheet, and they're addressing that right now, okay? The department published for public comment the criteria ATF considers when evaluating the objective design features of firearms equipped with a stabilizing brace to determine whether the weapon is a rifle or short-barreled rifle under the Gun Control Act, and a rifle or firearm or short-barreled rifle under the National Firearms Act. The proposed rule also included the proposed Worksheet 4999, which assigned points to various criteria and provided examples of how the Worksheet 4999 would be used to evaluate firearms equipped with certain models of stabilizing braces. And for those who don't remember that, there was no way anything could pass that worksheet. Everything could be ruled as an SBR, right? And that was changed because of the comments, but they just worked right into the definition. So after careful consideration of the comments received regarding the complexity in understanding the proposed Worksheet 4999 and the methodology used in the worksheet to evaluate firearms equipped with a brace device, this final rule does not adopt some aspects of the approach proposed in the proposed rulemaking, specifically the Worksheet 4999 and its point system. Instead, based on the comments received, the department took the relevant criteria discussed in the proposed rulemaking and Worksheet 4999 that indicate when a firearm is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and incorporated them into the rule's revised definitions of rifle. So you didn't like them on a worksheet, so we just took them and put them in this definition. Because both the Gun Control Act and the National Firearms Act define a rifle as a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, the department believes that a weapon that is equipped with an accessory, component, or other rearward attachment, example, stabilizing brace, that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is a rifle, provided the other factors described in this preamble and listed in the final regulatory text indicate the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. NPC, thank you so much. I got the comments on like really small, so you'll have to excuse me if I miss it. If an agent says an SBR and everything else, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to all that stuff. Accordingly, the department amends the definition of rifle under 27 CFR 478.11 and 479.11 to expressly state that the term designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder includes a weapon that is equipped with an accessory component or other rearward attachment, stabilizing brace, that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided other factors as listed in the amended regulations and described in this preamble indicate that the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. The other factors are: 1, whether the weapon has a weight or length consistent with the weight or length of similarly designed rifles. 2, whether the weapon has a length of pull measured from the center of the trigger to the center of the shoulder stock or other rearward accessory, component, or attachment, including an adjustable or telescoping attachment with the ability to lock into various positions along a buffer tube, receiver extension, or other attachment method that is consistent with similarly designed rifles. 3, whether the weapon is equipped with sights or a scope with eye relief that require the weapon to be fired from the shoulder in order to be used as designed. And 4, whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, a receiver extension, or any other accessory, component, or other rearward attachment that is necessary for the cycle of operations. 5, the manufacturer's direct and indirect marketing and promotional materials indicating that intended use of the weapon. And 6, information demonstrating the likely use of the weapon in the general community. And that's YouTube, stuff like that. All of the objective design features and factors listed in the rule that indicate the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder are derived from the proposed rulemaking and proposed worksheet 4999. The revised definition in this rule clarifies, consistent with the best interpretation of the statutory provision, that firearms with an attached stabilizing brace can possess objective design features that make them rifles, as the term is defined under the NFA and GCA. The firearm with an attached stabilizing brace, if a firearm with an attached stabilizing brace meets the definition of a rifle based on the factors indicated in this final rule, then that firearm could also be a short-barreled rifle depending on the length of the attached barrel, thus subjecting it to additional requirements under the NFA and GCA. However, a firearm with an attached brace device is not a rifle as defined in the relevant statutes if the weapon is not designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. That's pretty damn vague. The rule as proposed and finalized does not ban stabilizing braces or prohibit firearms with an attached stabilizing brace, regardless of the firearms classification. This revised definition reflects the department's understanding of the best interpretation of the statute, and it is immediately effective. In addition, because prior ATF classifications of firearms equipped with a brace device did not all employ this correct understanding of the statutory terms, all such prior classifications are no longer valid as of, it says, insert date of publication in the Federal Register, and that is today. So all previous letters from ATF saying that product's good to go have been invalidated. While firearms equipped with stabilizing braces or other rearward attachments may be submitted to ATF for new classification determination, a majority of the existing firearms equipped with stabilizing brace are likely to be classified as rifles because they are configured for shoulder fire based on the factors described in this rule. Because many of the firearms generally have a barrel of less than 16 inches, they are likely to be classified as short barrel rifles, subject to regulation and registration under the NFA and GCA. So they're saying, hey, insert maker here, you want to submit something to us? No problem, you can still do that, but it's going to be a short barrel rifle. They just basically just said that plain out. Consequently, many parties in possession of weapons, that's a lot of people like us that know and love the Second Amendment, many parties in possession of weapon and brace combinations that ATF did not specifically classify in the past as being subject to the NFA may have been violating the NFA by possessing an unregistered rifle with a barrel less than 16 inches. In addition, where the department is overruling ATF's previous classification letters, possessors of the firearms equipped with stabilizing braces that were at issue in those letters may also be in possession of unregistered NFA firearms. So you got one of those things that were previously approved, you are in illegal possession of an unregistered SBR. Retroactively. That's cool. Prior to the publication of the proposed rulemaking and this rule to clarify the regulatory definition of rifle, many parties did not register these firearms due to a variety of factors discussed in this rule. Therefore, in exercising its enforcement discretion, the department provides affected persons options that they can choose from. 120 days from the publication of today. So you have 120 days to comply with the statutory requirements. For example, possessors of such weapons, whether an unlicensed individual or an FFL, regardless of his SOT status, may register the firearms to comply with the statutory requirements. As discussed in Section VB of this preamble, ATF strongly encourages affected parties to use the e-form system to submit an electronic version of the appropriate NFA forms. Any penalties for failure to take the necessary action for these existing firearms to comply with federal law would result only from conduct occurring after this time period to take action ends. So what they're saying is, on the kindness of their heart, they're giving you 120 days to comply. And on the 121st day from today, if you have one of these or you register after the fact, they're going to be able to take action against you for an unlawful possession of an unregistered NFA and GCA item. That's exactly what they're saying. So Mr. and Mrs. America, register them all now, because on day 121, we have the ability to come for them. Provided the registration form is properly submitted, so this is for those people who want to do this process, and they're not going to charge you $200. Provided the registration form is properly submitted and documented within the defined time period, the department will consider individuals to be in compliance with the statutory requirements between the date on which the person's application is filed and the date in which the person receives ATF approval or disapproval of the application. After the 120-day registration period following publication of this rule, registration of previously made or manufactured weapons with a stabilizing brace that constitute NFA firearms will not be permitted. The department at that time may take enforcement action against any person in possession of an affected firearm that is a short-barreled rifle for which a registration has not been submitted. Man, I see a couple people. This is a rule. It's not a law because they can't make law, but this has the weight of law, which is why this is illegal and unconstitutional. And I'll tell you, there are things already in the works behind the scenes. Apart from, there's a couple of parts in here that I know people want, so I'm going to keep ripping through this. Apart from registration, there are other options as set out in Section VB of this preamble that include modifying affected weapons to remove them from the definition of short-barreled rifle, destroying the firearm, or surrendering the firearm to law enforcement. Right. Registering the firearm or modifying the configuration of such a firearm within the defined time period will enable affected persons to lawfully retain possession of their firearm under the federal law. While possessors of such weapons will themselves be able to apply the factors outlined in the amended regulatory text, ATF is publishing information simultaneously with this rule that will inform the public of both, one, the common weapon platforms with attached stabilizing braces, and two, examples of commercially available firearms equipped with stabilizing braces that are short-barrel rifles. Additionally, the individual may contact ATF to receive a determination of whether their firearm equipped with a stabilizing brace is a rifle as defined by the GCA and the NFA. The department has determined that as a matter of its own enforcement discretion, it will not, as the proposed rulemaking suggested as an option, require individuals and FFLs without an SOT that timely register their affected weapons with stabilizing brace, which are in the possession as of the date of this rule is published, to pay the $200 making tax usually due upon submission of such an application to register. Likewise, Type 7 FFLs, regardless of SOT status, that timely register the weapons with a stabilizing brace that qualify as an NFA firearm that are still in their inventory, i.e. that have not been sold or otherwise transferred, will not owe any making tax for those weapons. Furthermore, the department has determined that, as a matter of its own enforcement discretion, it will not seek to collect retroactive taxes. Example, $200 making or $200 transfer tax, typically required for each weapon with a stabilizing brace that qualifies as an NFA firearm that was manufactured or transferred at any time prior to the date of the publication of this final rule. Notwithstanding the 120-day compliance period discussed above, the rule is immediately effective in that the department may seek to enforce NFA's requirements with respect to any new rulemaking or new transfer of a weapon within an attached stabilizing brace that constitutes a short-barrel rifle under the NFA. The department believes that delaying enforcement of the relevant NFA provisions is not necessary to allow an equitable opportunity for compliance because all persons, through publication of this rule, have received notice that the NFA may in fact apply to their conduct. Further delaying enforcement would also be inconsistent with public safety. They're so nice. Therefore, ATF may enforce the NFA against any person or entity that, anytime after the publication date of this rule, today, newly makes or transfers a weapon with an attached stabilizing brace that constitutes a short-barreled rifle under the NFA. For purposes of the Congressional Review Act, however, the department will wait to actually initiate such enforcement actions for at least 60 days from the publication of the rule in the Federal Register. So yeah, they can come get you right now if you transfer a rifle, an SBR today, or build one today. But wait for 60 days to enforce that stuff. Jabronis. Summary of costs and benefits. This is some funny stuff. This is where this rulemaking, why it takes time to get published, because they have to come up with how much this is going to cost and stuff like that. I'm going to rip right through this real quick. In sum, ATF anticipates the cost of this rule is $226.9 million annualized and discounted at 7%. The total cost calculated for this rule to take into account the various options described above and affected parties who can choose from to come into compliance with the statutory requirements. So if everybody who they think has one of these paid the $200, then they're looking at that revenue would be about $266.9 million ish. And they're going to lose that money because they're so nice. They're going to let you, Mr. and Mrs. America, have your lawfully constitutionally protected items and not charge you the $200 for it. Because, in the Constitution under Bruin, where this thing that they're trying to do, the NFA and the GCA, did not exist at the time the Second Amendment was incorporated in 1791. Don't pay attention to that. So the benefit of this rule is preventing manufacturers and individuals from violating the requirements of the NFA and GCA. Congress placed stricter requirements on the making and possessing of short-barreled rifles, deeming them to be dangerous and unusual weapons and posing a significant danger to the public, as discussed below. This rule enhances public safety by reducing the further proliferation and criminal use of firearms with attached stabilizing braces. Refer to the standalone final regulatory impact analysis available at ATF website for full discussion of the potential costs and the benefits of this rule. And let's see, background. It says the Attorney General is responsible for the enforcing the GCA. ATF Director delegates the authority to classify firearms pursuant to the GCA and NFA to the ATF Firearms criminal branch. This stuff isn't really necessary for understanding of what they're doing. Let's see, boom. Violations under the GCA, last line, are punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000, and that's for each and every one. Violations of NFA are punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. And they can go double barrel on you for each one. Fat D, stabilizing brace device related classifications. Since 2012, ATF has analyzed how numerous brace devices affect a weapons classification under the NFA and has also classified numerous firearms equipped with stabilizing brace for industry, the public, and in criminal cases. Results of the classifications were mixed, but ATF classified the majority of these submissions as NFA firearms. On November 8 of 2012, an FFL submitted the first form, and we already went over that because that's in the beginning, so it tells you that. And then we're going to show you a picture of that first one, and that's this here. This is the original stabilizing brace attached to an AR-type pistol, and this is what they approved based on the information provided, blah, 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 blah. It was not designed to fire a weapon from the shoulder. So that's why that one was approved, okay? Let's go. Here's all their examples. This is a brace device on an AR-15 that they're saying is a short-barreled rifle under the GCA. March 2014, ATF responded to an inquiry from an unlicensed person who asked if firing an AR-type pistol from the shoulder would cause the pistol to be reclassified as a short-barreled rifle under the NFA controls. In its response, Fat D noted that it classifies firearms based on the physical design characteristics, and that while functionality indicates the intended design, it is not the sole criterion for determining the classification of the weapon. Fat D advised that it does not classify weapons based on how a particular individual uses the weapon, and that merely firing an AR-type pistol from the shoulder did not reclassify it as a short-barrel rifle. Fat D further mentioned that some brace designs, such as the SIG stability brace, had not been classified as a shoulder stock, and that therefore using those braces improperly would not constitute a design change or change in the classification of a weapon. Also in 2014, an individual asked ATF to so the key is this: individuals, stop asking ATF anything. Let's keep things the way they are. That's usually how most of this stuff comes up. Somebody asks a stupid question. In 2014, an individual asked ATF to examine the SB-15 stabilizing brace on a firearm commonly known as a pistol grip firearm with a smooth bore to verify that the firearm is not regulated under the NFA. On October 28 of 2014, the ATF concluded, one, that a forward grip, an additional hand grip toward the front of the firearm in addition to the pistol grip attached to a pistol, redesigns the firearm to be fired with two hands, and therefore that firearm is no longer a handgun or a pistol, and that it would classify it as any other weapon pursuant to 26 USC 5845E Echo under the NFA. Its overall length is less than 26 inches, or if it's actually concealed on the person. Remember when everybody there was the whole rush of removing vertical forward grips. That's what that was. Excuse me. The overall length of the submitted firearm was 27.25 inches, and therefore ATF determined that, as submitted, the firearm was subject to the regulation under the GCA, but was not an NFA firearm, provided that the SIG-TAC SB-15 pistol stabilizing brace is used as originally designed and not used as a shoulder stock. In essence, ATF's original analysis focused on whether the inclusion of the forward grip subjected the firearm to the NFA. But ATF did not consider how the classification would be affected if a pistol grip firearm without a forward grip were to incorporate a stabilizing brace. Nevertheless, in the addition of the stabilizing brace to these types of firearms does not assist with one-handed firing, but rather redesigns the firearm, providing surface area for firing from the shoulder. Therefore, these types of firearms would fall under the purview of the NFA as short-barreled shotguns. Because these types of firearms were never designed to be fired from one hand, this rule, as described in the proposed rulemaking, does not apply to firearms commonly referred to as pistol grip shotguns. The 2014 classification described above of any classification that provides that a pistol grip shotgun is not an NFA firearm is no longer valid or authoritative as of today's date, and the firearm should be resubmitted for FAT-D evaluation. There's several of those out there. After the SB-15 classification, ATF received newly designed stabilizing brace devices from other companies. One company in 2014 submitted a pistol overmold kit with a foam padded stabilizer tube intended to accommodate a Glock type pistol, and requested the classification of the firearm to determine if it would be regulated under the NFA. The company likened its product to installing a receiver extension buffer tube on an AR type pistol, and configuration that FAT-D had earlier decided was not a shoulder stock when it installed on the type of firearm, that it did not result in the change of the pistol's classification. However, FAT-D concluded that the foam padded stabilizer tube served no legitimate functional purpose other than to extend additional contact surface rearward on Glock type pistols, and therefore would result in the manufacture of a short barreled rifle. That's when they said that, Glock pistols could be, right here. It's an SBR. In addition, FAT-D examined a pistol overmold kit with an adjustable stabilizer, also intended to incorporate a Glock type pistol. FAT-D similarly concluded that the brace device served no purpose but to extend the rearward surface of the firearm, and that the brace device is not required for the cycle of the operations, doesn't expel a projectile by the action of an explosive of Glock type pistols, meaning it doesn't need a buffer for a Glock to operate. FAT-D therefore concluded that this installation of the adjustable stabilizer would result in the manufacture of a short-barreled rifle under the NFA. ATF continued to receive new designs of stabilizing braces from additional manufacturers, and in September of 2014, an FFL submitted a Blade AR pistol stabilizer, a device that incorporated a flexible stabilizing fin to rest against the inside of the shooter's forearm when in the firing position. According to the FFL, the Blade AR pistol stabilizer stabilizes the firearm in the horizontal plane, and the friction created between the user's forearm and the fin then stabilizes the forearm in the vertical plane. They further stated that a user can wrap a standard sling around the Blade AR and their forearm and secure it with the thumb of their firing hand to further stabilize their firing in both horizontal and vertical planes as shown below. So you can wrap it up and cinch it in much like you would cinch in with a sling shooting two-handed. Like other submitters, the FFL asked if the addition of this device would convert a firearm in a manner that would cause it to be classified as a rifle and thus a firearm regulated by the NFA. In response, ATF stated, the submitted forearm brace, when attached to a pistol, is not a firearm as defined by the NFA, provided that the Blade AR pistol stabilizer is used as originally designed. and not used as a shoulder stock. Now they're incorporating a lot of these because they know a lot of people are going to say, hey, this is what I have, and this was what was once allowed. So they're telling you these because they're rescinding anything, and these are all going to be considered SBRs. Let's skip through another couple of these. Diagram of a retractable pistol stabilizing brace on a handgun. That's this one here. It was under 16 inches in barrel, so it's a NFA firearm. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that brace is not required for the revolver to actually operate, so it's an SBR. And here we're getting to stuff similar to what's out in the market now. This is the 2015 submission of an adjustable stabilizing brace. In this evaluation, FACT-D noted that, and this is the SIG, that's the SIG MPX MCX style that they have out there. In its evaluation, FACT-D noted that the raised edges on the rear of the submitted sample serve no functional purpose in the design of a pistol brace. However, the ridges on the back do provide a non-slip gripping surface, a feature commonly associated with butt stocks and shoulder stocks, as well as firearms designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. So you can see how they're breaking all this down. Like those ridges right there, they're saying that that provides a better grip. I guess that's subjective. I might not agree, but that's what they're saying is an SBR right there. FACT-D determined that this would not be a short-barreled rifle, provided the brace device is used as originally designed and not as a shoulder stock, and the raised ridges are removed from the rear of the device. So with the raised ridges, it's an SBR. You shave off that little bit of foam rubber, and it's not, as long as it's not fired from the shoulder. The next one is, I think we all know that one, the universal pistol brace. It's on a Smith & Wesson right here, M&P pistol. 2016, FACT-D found the universal pistol brace device used to reduce recoil of the host weapon when the shooter places the foam piece of the brace on top of the shooter's forearm. However, FACT-D determined that the device, when assembled in an alternate configuration, incorporate a buckstock design features, and that the firearm with the brace device installed in the alternate configuration depicted above had a length of pull of 14 1/16 inches. This letter defined length of pull as the measurement found on the shoulder-fired weapons is generally measured from the center of the trigger to the center of the butt plate buttstock. FACT-D reasoned that the length of pull of a shoulder-fired weapon is approximately 13.5 to 14.5 inches. After finding that the configuration resulted in an overall length of approximately 18.5 inches and a barrel length of approximately 4.25 inches, FACT-D classified the firearm as a short-barrel rifle under the NFA. Manufacturer subsequently redesigned the universal pistol brace device and resubmitted it to ATF. The second submission of the device is an alternate configuration, now incorporated a length of pull of 12.125 inch, as depicted below. This evaluation also found that the foam portion of the foam brace did not provide a surface area found on a shoulder stock assembly when attached to the pistol. FACT-D concluded that the device, when attached to a pistol-type firearm, did not design or redesign the host weapon to fire from the shoulder. So this one was good to go, but that one was not. Blah, blah, blah. We don't need to go every single one of these. All right, the counterbalance one. This one we all know. They're called like tail hooks. There's all kinds of them. 2016, another brace design reviewed by FACT-D was one that incorporated a folding clamp intended to provide support to the firing hand and designed to be attached to an AR-type buffer tube or similar receiver extension. This type of device is referred as a counterbalance type stabilizing brace, as discussed in section 4B3B Bravo 8 of this preamble. That's the tail hook, basically. So this opens up to make it an area to wrap around your forearm, just like this picture here. FACT-D found that this device, when assembled on an AR-type firearm, allows the shooter to extend the clamp so it's under the shooter's forearm while gripping the pistol grip for additional support. The stabilizing brace did not design or redesign the firearm to be fired from the shoulder, and thus was not a short-barreled rifle under the NFA and GCA. But ATF noted that if the firearm is fired from the shoulder, then the shooter designs or redesigns the firearm to be a rifle. Subsequently, The same company added a retractability feature to the stabilizing brace that allowed it to extend toward the shooter. On January 18th of 2017, FAT-D determined that the pistol equipped with the adjustable feature would still not be subject to NFA controls. And that's the PDW style. Blah, blah, blah. So as long as it wasn't shoulder fired. We don't need to go over every single silly little example they're going to put forward, but you get the point. The SBL Mini in 2020. 2020, FAT-D examined 2 firearms, each equipped with a different stabilizing brace, the SBL Mini and the SBA3. So we know the SBA3 is very common out there. Millions of them out there. And the first firearm equipped with an SBL Mini brace was determined to be a pistol based on all the objective design features, including the design of the attached brace that wrapped almost completely around the shooter's forearm, the rear surface area of the device, and the firearm's shorter length of pull when compared against a typical AR shoulder-type fired weapon. The second one, which is the SBA3, was determined to be a short-barreled rifle. FAT-D reviewed all of the objective design features of the submitted firearm, including the similarity of the SBA3 known shoulder stocks in form and function, and rear hardened surface area of the SBA3, the utilization of a standard AR-type mil-spec carbine receiver extension, had the length of pull useful for shouldering the firearm, and FAT-D concluded that these factors combine to provide objective design features consistent with weapons designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder. On June 2020, ATF classified another firearm equipped with a proprietary pistol brace that included guide rails that are identical to the same rifle-type firearm the manufacturer sold as a short-barrel rifle, both of which are pictured below. And this is, if I remember which one, yeah, this is Q, the Honey Badger. One has a brace, the other has a stock. They said, nope, that's not good to go. Velcro straps and flaps of the brace design had been reduced in size from the SB15 stabilizing brace and were not long enough to wrap around a shooter's forearm. The ATF classification concluded that the objective design features of the accessory did not support the manufacturer's stated intent, and instead supported the conclusion that the accessory had been designed and intended to be used as a shouldering device, and therefore the firearm with the brace device attached is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. On June 16, 2027, members of the House of Representatives wrote to DOJ and ATF leaders expressing a deep concern about ATF's practice of relying on arbitrary, non-public standards to promulgate general firearm policy hidden from public scrutiny and awareness. The congressional letter, which we covered on this channel, asks specific questions regarding the criteria ATF uses to determine whether a firearm is designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder, specific publications available for Americans to determine whether their firearms are designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and how many firearms equipped with stabilizing braces FAT-D had examined. By late 2020, ATF concluded that the previous ATF classification determinations had led to confusion, no kidding, and there was a need to provide clarity to the firearm industry and the public on how ATF evaluates firearms equipped with stabilizing braces. 2, manufacturers were adding to the confusion by labeling stabilizing braces that ATF had not evaluated as ATF compliant. And 3, as discussed in Section 4B1C of this preamble, these braces were being used with firearms extensively to create short-barreled rifles without following NFA requirements. As a result, ATF first published a notice in the Federal Register titled Objective Factors for Classifying Weapons with Stabilizing Braces on December 18 of 2020. However, the department withdrew that one. Remember, we were all over them. They withdrew that one. And then they came up with this new one. It tells you on June 10th, they published this one. The comment period, we already know that. Definition of a rifle, the department proposed amendments. All right. Yeah, we'll start here. Remember, ATF doesn't have the power to make definitions because Congress makes the law, right? They make the definitions. The department proposed amendments to clarify the definition of rifle, which is very clear in the definition Congress gave, by adding at the end of the current definition a sentence stating that The term shall include any weapon with a rifle barrel equipped with an accessory or component purported to assist the shooter stabilize the weapon while shooting with one hand, commonly referred to as stabilizing brace, that has an objective design features and characteristics that facilitate shoulder fire, as indicated on the factoring criteria for rifle barrel weapons with accessories commonly referred to as stabilizing braces in the worksheet 4999. So they added that part onto the definition. It goes over how the proposed rule made everything clear, and it's just you people. Jump over this because this is just them babbling about the proposed rule. The department also explained in this proposed rule that with the increase in production of rifle barrel weapons with stabilizing braces, ATF saw an increase in the requests for classifications of this kind of firearm design. As described above, ATF issued several letters examining brace devices and also particular firearms equipped with stabilizing braces for industry and in criminal cases. In its recent determinations, FATD discussed various objective features that are considered when evaluating whether a firearm that is equipped with a stabilizing brace is designed or intended to be fired from the shoulder. So they got a ton of them in, and they said, you know what, we need to stop this. Basically what they're saying. Application of the proposed ATF worksheet. Similar to the factoring criteria, ATF Form 4590, which is used for the importation of pistols and revolvers, the proposed ATF worksheet 4999 contained, they're not even using it, so we don't need to discuss that. So this is going over the proposed rule, which we covered ad nauseum, and this is what the problem with the worksheet was. The proposed worksheet 4999 assigned point values for the objective design characteristics or features that are common to rifles, features associated with the shoulder stocks, and features limiting the ability to use the stabilizing brace as an actual brace. The point values range from 0 to 4, and they were this, 1 was a minor indicator, all the way to 4, which is a decisive indicator. And like I said, on that worksheet, everything was going to be classified as an SBR. So they're still talking about they're talking about the comments and why they wanted it and why they just incorporated it into the definition. Analysis of the comments and the department responses. In response to the proposed rulemaking, ATF received over 237,000 comments. Submissions came from individuals, lawyers, government officials, and various interest groups. Of the comments received, nearly 20,000 comments expressed support for the proposed rule, of which just under 18,000 were submitted by individuals as form letters. Example, identical text that is often supplied by organizations or found online and recommended to be submitted to the agency as a comment. Those are the things I always mention. You can use those as a guide, but change them. Those are the ones that many agencies, say click this, and send it. So 18,000 of those 20,000 people just hit click because they couldn't be bothered to type something, and they didn't hold weight. There were over 217,000 comments opposed to aspects of the rule. So 20,000 people wanted the rule. 217,000 didn't want the rule, which would tell you America doesn't want this rule, but you know what? We're going to do it anyway because Joe Biden. So approximately 96,000 of those comments were submitted as form letters, and of those, just over 25,000 were submitted using the National Association for Gun Rights, NAGR form letter. The commenters' grounds for support and opposition, along with specific concerns and suggestions, are discussed below. So these are the comments. I'm not going to go through all the comments, guys. I'm just not. If you want to dig into that and what people were discussing, you can have that at the link is in the description. Comments received, blah, 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 blah. Department response, comments received in opposition. Let's see, department response. Department response still. Comments received for lack of authority. Comments received for change in ATF's position. Department responses. So they're going over the subjects or they bunched the comments together, and this is what they're telling you what they received, people were concerned with, and what their response was. Almost SB Tacticals posted articles explaining short barrel rifle performance. Yeah, so they're talking about how YouTube videos of people shooting with stabilizing the braces from the shoulder. This is the SB Tactical video that they're talking about. SB Tactical shows somebody shooting it from the brace position. And they call this cheek welding in that video. They call this sternum mounting, but it's, braced against the chest, and locking the pistol out on a fully tensioned sling, and demonstrating these various firing techniques of a firearm equipped with the stabilizing brace models. The manufacturer's video clearly shows it informed the public about and marketed its brace device for uses that go far beyond the original design and intent of the brace, as explained to ATF. So they're saying because ATF or SB Tactical designed it for the forearm, they showed the public ways to shoot without doing that, and ATF said that's no bueno. And you also go on. They go after SB Tactical quite a bit in this here, with marketing and how things were depicted. Comments received, response from the department, comments received. Y'all still with me? I know this is boring, but we got to understand this stuff because this is a big violation of our rights. And when it's time to take action, we're going to need to be taking action. Defund the ATF. I see that quite a bit. Absolutely. And stay tuned. I can't say too much. I had a conversation with somebody before I came live. Stay tuned. There might be an option for that. Shocker. Drone Wolf, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. What's this? In clarifying the definition of a rifle, this rule states that the term designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder shall include a weapon that is equipped with an accessory, component, or other rearward attachment. Example, stabilizing brace that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided other factors as listed below indicate that the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. Whether the weapon has the weight and length. Okay, we're re-saying what they said earlier. Manufacturers indirect marketing. That's why they gigged SB Tactical and that stuff there. Is this still comments? Yes. They're going over. All right. So this is going over different factors in the final rule. So the objective design features in this rule are taken with the proposed rulemaking as well as the 4999. So the final rule, surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. Because both the GCA and NFA just define a rifle as a weapon designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, the department believes that a weapon equipped with a brace or other rearward attachment must first satisfy the requirement that it have a surface area that allows for the weapon to be fired from the shoulder. A firearm that does not have a surface area that allows for a weapon to be fired from the shoulder cannot qualify as a rifle. So, yeah, it makes... Yeah, I mean, next thing they talked about weight and length consistent with the weight and length of AR-type pistols and stuff like that and rifles. And if they're similar, then it's a similar thing. Length of pull, they went over that again. Sights and scopes that require eye relief, make it required to be shot with two hands, necessary for the cycle operation of firearms. This is going to be one people want to know because that buffer tube that has the padded foam on it. 5, final rule, necessary for the cycle and operations of firearm. The rule provides that ATF may also consider whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, receiver extension, component, or other rearward attachment that is necessary for the cycle of operations. This consideration is drawn from the proposed rulemaking and the proposed worksheet 4999, which is assessed 2 points for extended AR-type pistol buffer tube, inclusion of folding adapter, excluding length of pull, and use of spacers or extend the length of pull. So those are blah, 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 blah. These extensions provide additional material to the firearm that is not required for the cycle of operations and thus, therefore, can be an indicator the firearm is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. In contrast, material on the forearm that extends to the rear surface area of the firearm toward the shooter but is required for the cycle of operations, such as an AR-type pistol with a standard 6 to 6.5 inch buffer tube, may be an indicator that the firearm is not designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, even if a weapon is equipped with an accessory component or other rearward attachment, example, a stabilizing brace, that provides surface area that allows shouldering of the weapon. Under the rule, Whether the accessory component or other rearward attachment is necessary for the cycle of operations needs to be considered in determining whether a firearm is designed, made, or intended to be fired from the shoulder. So they're repeating themselves over and over on different classifications based off of comments. I don't need to read all of their comments because they don't give a hell about ours. Oh, by the way, hold on, I'll get to that in a second. So these are examples they have of manufacturers and the model that they're referring to, and the barrel length and the weight of the gun in pounds. To further inform the public of examples of weights and lengths consistent with rifles, ATF's Fat D weighted a variety of rifles, traditional and modern, from National Firearms Collection. So all of these, boom, 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 they're putting this there because they love you, want to give you all the information. Although the above weights and lengths for rifles are not themselves determinative, the department also notes that many heavy pistols have the receiver of a rifle with the stock removed, and that the firearm with a pistol grip is a variant of a rifle. These heavy pistols are often lighter or shorter than other rifle versions, but reach the same weight and length of their rifle predecessor when equipped with a stabilizing brace device. Many firearms that incorporate stabilizing brace devices are variants of rifles. Example, ARs and AK type pistols, which often incorporate receivers that accept cartridges preliminary designed for rifles. For a forearm marketed as a pistol that is a variant of a rifle, ATF would compare the weight and length of the firearm with an attached stabilizing brace or other attached device against the original rifle design. For a firearm that is not a variant of a rifle, example, a Glock type pistol, the weight and length of the firearm with an attached stabilizing brace or other device attached would be compared to the weight and length range of variant designed, made, or intended to be fired from the shoulder. Example, Glock type pistol with a shoulder stock or installed a carbine conversion kit. So they're just saying, like, because you have this and it's your the way you have it made, we're gonna hold it up against whatever that full version of that rifle is, and if it's similar, SBR, baby. Tom F, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Again, this is more comments. All right, so this is the definition of a rifle. It's shot fired from the shoulder. Let's see what they're saying about this. This is another comment. It's made and intended to be fired from the shoulder. An individual shooting a rifle from a bench, a seat, blah, blah, blah. The department has determined that making classifications based solely on the way a particular individual uses a firearm equipped with a stabilizing brace would not effectively implement the statutory scheme. So it doesn't matter if you need it to shoot sitting down. It's an SBR. More comments. Oops. More comments. You want to dig through these comments, guys? Have at it. I don't really care what they're saying. Here's your SIG style, your MPX, the Honey Badger that they talked about earlier. MPX, M&P 15. They don't like that Honey Badger, huh? SIG MP. This is the Copperhead, shorter barrels, same thing. Honey Badger, they're jumping on those. More comments. More comments. I'm going to skip through the comment section here. More manufacturers based off of more comments. So this rule didn't have to be 190 some odd pages. It's just because they're addressing a majority of the comments they received. CMMG. More comments. Violates the Fourth Amendment, people said. And the department disagrees that this rule violates the Fourth Amendment. Okay. Well, who cares what you believe? Unconstitutional taking under the Fifth Amendment. Commenters believe that, blah, 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 blah. Several commenters stated. Another comment, what does the department say? The department disagrees that this rule constitutes taking under the Fifth Amendment. Of course, they're going to say that. That's up to a judge, though. It doesn't matter what they agree with, the ATF. Unconstitutionally vague under the Fifth Amendment, which is true. Department's response. The department disagrees with the commenters that this rule is unconstitutionally vague, but agrees that some of the criteria for the worksheet would have been difficult for users to apply. That's why we took the worksheet out and just applied it into the definition. Boom, boom, boom. More comments. More. Boom, boom, boom. More comments. Okay, let's rip through these comments. I don't care about ATF's lies. Can't wait to see them Monday. Executive orders. Let's see what these are. All right, here's our scenarios. Statutory and executive order review. Executive Order 12866, regulatory planning and review, directs agencies to assess the costs and benefit of, okay, this is just for cost benefit analysis, blah, 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 blah. The options presented in the final rule are scenario 1. So these are the things they say you can do to be compliant. Scenario 1, turn the entire firearm with an attached stabilizing brace to the ATF. Not going to happen. 2, destroy the whole firearm. Probably not going to happen. 3, convert the short-barreled rifle into a long-barreled rifle. So a lot of people have been emailing me, can I just throw a 16-inch upper? Yes, you can, because it's no longer a short-barreled rifle. 4, apply to register the weapon under the NFA. Or 5, permanently remove and dispose of or alter the stabilizing brace from the firearm if it cannot be attached. So it cannot be reattached. I think that's under the proposed rule because they changed that. I'll have to double check. Yeah, because they're saying it does nothing to regulate pistol braces now. Small business regulatory, they're still responding to crap. Unfunded Mandates Reform Act, Paperwork Reduction Act. Disclosures, copies of the final rule, proposed rule, and comments received in response to proposed rule available through the federal rulemaking portal. Meaning of terms, so they go into different things that they've said, whether the weapon is a length of pull or its equipment, sights, or scope, all the things that they said over and over and over. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it, Merrick Garland. So we have gone over this stupid ad nauseum, went through everything. Let's see if I can get back to the beginning. And I know that'll probably piss people off that I was doing that or just scrolling. But that's the factoring criteria for firearms with an attached stabilizing brace. We've now gone over it. I hope that you guys and gals were able to get something out of that. Let me get that shit off my screen. Hope that was worth your time. And I hope you understand it now. So what they're saying, I'll surmise it for people who come in late. Effective today, the definition of rifle has been changed by the ATF, who doesn't have the ability to change legal definitions that are made by Congress. But effective today, 120 days you have to get into compliance if you happen to have one of these items that would be classified as an SBR. And there's a bunch of factors that we went over. And they suggest you use the e-form portal to apply for your tax stamp for your SBR. And they're not going to charge you the $200. They're also not going to go retroactive looking for the $200. However, it's effective today. So if you make one today, or if you transfer one today, or manufacturer sells or ships one today, they say that they can take action against you because now you're on notice. However, out of the kindness of their hearts, they're going to wait 60 days. But you're all on notice, they said. So you can take the brace off. And as long as it doesn't have an area which they'll say it makes it able to be shouldered, then you might be good to go. A lot of vague stuff here. You can destroy the gun. You can give it back to ATF. You can put a 16-inch upper on it and throw a stock on it, and then it becomes a 16-inch rifle. But no bueno. This is an unconstitutional infringement, I believe. I mean, I'm pretty sure this falls under Bruin. This is not something that follows the text, history, and tradition of firearm regulation in the United States, effective 1791 when the Second Amendment was adopted. However, it's going to be some fallout. Now, I will have information. I know Gun Owners of America is going to want to do something, and they're going to need people's help. There's some pressure that we can put on this new Congress that can stop this in certain ways, but I'll have more information on that when the information is ready and we need people to do something. So I thank everybody for your time. I don't know how long this has been. This has been an hour. Oh, my bad, guys. Sorry. Free men die free. You can't comply your way out of tyranny. Absolutely right. Government is totally, in totality, is rogue, illegitimate. I agree, man. 100%. All right. I have talked my voice off and dead. So I'm going to say it one more time, that there are lawsuits coming. I know of at least 2, potentially 3. Now that the final rule's been published, attorneys are digging into it right now, and there will be a response. But join the groups, guys. Join the groups. Support those who support you. I don't care what group it is. I don't care. Join them. If you are a member, throw them an extra $15, $20 if you can. Little goes a long way. I understand time's tight, but we're at a spot where everybody's saying, well, how come they don't sue here? And how come we don't sue there? And how come this group's not doing this there? There's only a couple attorneys working in these groups. It's not like they have, a million members or a million workers. And it comes down to what they can afford to do. And that's on us as members to help keep these groups, give them the lifeblood. And that's us, the membership. So 120 days from today, hopefully we'll hear more. Remember, there's that lawsuit that was stayed pending the release of this in Texas. I'll let you know when the next court date is scheduled. Now that they have released this, they're supposed to tell the judge. So that'll be happening as well. And that case is already underway. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot of ifs, what ifs. There's a lot of questions, a lot of gray area, and we'll be digging through this. I will be consulting people I trust, and I will bring back that information to you if it's relevant for us. Guys and gals, thank you so much for your time. Please subscribe to Guns and Gadgets. That's why I do this, is so that I can get this information to you in a timely manner. And without you guys and gals watching, I don't do this. So please subscribe to the channel and like this video, share this video, comment on this video like many of you are, and get this out. This is terrible. This is, like I said, a worst case scenario. And the e-form system sucks as it is. You're thinking 10 to 40 million people aren't going to implode this system? And what happens if it takes 124 days for the system to get back up and running? I mean, there's so many problems with this. But that's for another video. Guys and gals, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. That's what it's for. It's not going anywhere. Doesn't matter what the ATF and their merry men think. We, the people, have the power, and they're not even in. ATF doesn't say it. It doesn't say it anyway. It doesn't say ATF in the Declaration of Independence. It doesn't say it in the original draft in the Constitution. And it sure as hell doesn't say it anywhere in the Bill of Rights. So I'll see y'all on the next one before I get too fired up. Take care.